Thank you. For starters, good morning. Thanks very much for being here for this talk about multi-agent AI in the insurance sector, and thanks to Rafael and Leticia so that we can talk about that. I have an interesting story about the use of this technology and how that's had added value, but before delving into that, let's create some perspective. In ThoughtWorks, there was a time in which organizations were experimenting with AI, agents, and generative AI, and even it seems that there has been a change so that organizations can start working with the value of those technologies. You in Google, how do you see that? How have organizations extracted value from that? Thank you. I want to thank first for the invitation, and it's a great pleasure to be here with you. Good morning.
A gente é a única coisa que repara o pessoal do almoço ainda. Mas deixa eu responder a sua pergunta. A história da feira de ciências,
The science fair and its history was happening, and in the beginning, the use of AI to try and understand how we use that in order to serve clients and eventually improve their performance in insurance companies. That has changed. Today in Google Cloud, we have the vision for insurances that is anchored in three main pillars. We see many insurers, banks, and finance companies working
para tudo aquilo que é regulatório,
with regulatory matters, security, where AI can help you a lot. And herein I refer to working with reports for regulatory conformance, cyber risk, capturing a huge amount of data and being able to simplify the agenda that before depended on a human agent and add value to that. So I've seen many projects along those lines. And there's a second pillar which focuses more on what happens outside the company. We work with customization. There is a challenge for banks herein, which is principality, but there is also an analogous because of the nature of insurances, and there's an annual renewal with certain types of products for you to keep yourself relevant, and for that you need to deliver an offer concerning time and value for that client when they hire the insurance company, and herein AI has helped a lot. Since being able to produce marketing pieces and also delivering an offer that actually is relevant for that client. Rethinking how you redistribute insurance to the end. And the third pillar is actually what happens inside. That's the insurer rethinking about its processes and how it can support customers with internal processes. And here we see projects that are guided to insurers investing in AI agents, where you have a conformance and levels of services using the conversational AI principles such as chatbots, but also the use of AI and agents working on processes that were manual before. We're working with commercial managers, etc., for them to do with whatever they needed to do.
Então, assim, de uma forma geral, acho que a grande evolução, e eu estava conversando esses dias, né, é a minha 18ª FEBRABAN TECH CIABS, né? Todo ano tem umas...
Every year there is a topic here.
Ano passado se falou muito de...
And We worked generative AI last year, and this year we start seeing the cases, the results in practical terms. And it's nice to see the speed this is taking. And it's a great pleasure actually to be sharing that case with ThoughtWorks. Thanks for your comments, that's very interesting. And this is what we've seen in Google, and there is more demand for the generation of results and the delivery of value. Leticia, you have been working in that case we are about to speak about. Please tell us about that. Start with the general context and what was the business problem that you were trying to address, and what is the value that was generated with that. For any AI solution, we need to think about scale, because when we change the scale, we change the options. In this case, we needed productivity gains and also finding solutions that allowed us for answers to be interpreted faster, that there could be no filter, so that the entire repeated history could be processed differently. In this specific case with the insurer, we worked with improvements in the onboarding experience, automatic renewal, other resources that were created for the layers to be interpreted without repetition, so that they could be more consistent information-wise, but also reducing costs and time. When we talk about AIAs, is gains in agility and service in general. But we had several use cases. Foram diversas soluções que foram desenvolvidas, mas a maioria dos casos de uso foram But most of the cases were used to customer service and the onboarding for clients. That's interesting, because it's what Rafael said before. Inside, you optimize internal process, and that creates business value, which is tangible. Sim. O melhor aproveitamento que nós tivemos foi com o uso. The best advantage we had was with the use of good LLM practices. So how the LLM was processed with Google resources, we used several components, such as the framework, and that facilitated a lot. And they were accelerators. This was a very interesting experience to take advantage of those components and also offer competitive advantage for purchases. So tell us about the architecture of this. Let us understand what was included here. So in a general way, we were working with this simplified architecture and this topology. And in the beginning, the information is stored in cloud storage. It could be any different storage option. And we used the Vertex Vector AI to embed those resources. After, they are inserted in vector search. Afterwards, we carried out a process in which clients can make their questions using Cloud Rump, and the interchange uses AI. So in the end of the process, the link chain searches in Vertex AI and returns results with repetitive interactions, and then we can reduce a lot the time in which we need to respond and the interactions and train the model. Even though this is in the MP phase, we had gains in agility, and Google Form were essential, especially limit chain. That was our preferred framework, helping with the development, because it brings several resources from what we required and what we consider as good practices regarding security. and also in the LLM processing to have an effective solution in terms of cost that does not use up that much of the structure. So that was the general topology. It's a simple solution, but it was fully structured with the support of Google components. It's interesting to see that and eventually see on the one hand the power that that technology offers organizations, but also to understand the complexity that's involved here in. You need to build a lot around it. And lay people, they think that you use an LLM, but you need to feed it with the correct information and check the results and integrate that within existing systems. In that sense, Rafael, help me. What have you seen in the market? Because Google Cloud Suite was essential even to work with quality, agility for products. Vertex AI in particular is very interesting in its approach, end-to-end approach, integrating several different parts that you require in the architecture. How have you seen the use of those tools in the market in general?
A gente costuma dizer o seguinte, né? Quando a gente olha projeto
When we have such a project, it seems to be highly complex. But when you combine the availability of resources you have in the cloud and the easiness you have to create instances for products and accelerators, you should focus more on what is the use case, what's the MVP, what do you want to tackle, and then eventually define a successful metric that's measurable and tangible, and then eventually run it. This is something that we need to have in cases, and there's a case that's going to be announced today in a different session of a bank. And that was an idea that arose in a Google meeting. 2 weeks ago, we spent some time defining the prospect, and the team built that in 2 weeks' time, and it's going to be launched today here at FEBRABAN. We see that being accelerated at the extreme. And when we talk to this stack for AI solutions, you spoke about Vertex. That is in the medium layer. If you want to build your model, want to refine it, train it, that layer specifically, there is a higher layer that also works with accelerators for AI solutions, such as GemSpace, which is a solution for agents' productivity that talk to each other. You have customer engagement suite, where you develop those agents for customer service centrals and transactional chatbots. So you have prefab solutions, and you have that medium layer that you can customize and go more in depth into it. And there is a third layer. And I think that has an even bigger space for companies to use it, which is the layer in which magical things happen from the processing standpoint, which is the AI infrastructure layer, because robust models like this one can be instanced today with GPUs, DPUs, so the infrastructure which is going to be able to run with those models. Picture this. A project that uses AI to improve a pricing model, which is highly complex. The contribution margin for each customer is hard to calculate or define the credit risk for a financial institution, where you have a huge variable book. And those models and the large language models use that type of infrastructure, which is very specific. And until then was the use of the cloud providers such as Google. That is also an accelerator, and it's available. So we see today different use cases evolving quickly because the tools or the tooling is available, whether that's in the layer where we have prefab solutions or in the layer where we explore that, where you have the freedom to customize and work with products, whether that's in the basic infra layer. And in that sense, for us in Google, that is also interesting for us to take part in that moment because the tooling is there, and we need to help clients with their partners, such as ThoughtWorks, understand what is the best component for that toolbox we have.
That will accelerate the projects and deliver value in weeks and not in months or years as before. Leticia, can I ask you a bit about the backstage? Was there anything that was especially challenging or you find worth mentioning? Yes, we hadn't predicted the need of having a transportation layer. We had to train it in order for it to reduce its interactions because some of the questions were not predicted in the initial propositions. So I would like to highlight the agent builder with the best practices for the usage of the guardrails because it allows a control with deterministic orchestration in such a way that we are able to control all of the line of thought and collaboration between agents, but in such a way in which they can understand the business rules and operate within the established framework. So the guardrail points is quite an important one for us to bring to the conversation because precisely of the sensitive data. And on this point, Vertex AI, Agent Builder, and Hybrid, which was one of the main accelerators, helped greatly for the possibility of us reaching the necessary security protocols. So just as we go into the conclusion, is there any learnings, experience, or any advice that you want to give for organizations who are facing similar cases? Yes, especially as we all know, we weren't able to advance an AI project without a very well structured data layer governance. It's also very important for us to think about a simple, observable, monitorable project for us to be able to show the savings, the cost gains, also an analytic front end layer with the control tests. That helps a lot. And predicting the project, thinking about its scalability so we can have an auto scale and an excellent coverage of the infrastructure. I believe these are the crucial points for the project and one of the strongest point of thought, the knowledge and the strategies for AI projects in high scale and with quality. Perfect. What about you, Rafael? What would you leave as a takeaway that you think is worth sharing?
Olhando um pouco para,
Well,
assim, aquilo que eu estava comentando,
what I was
de
talking
escolher algum
about
problema para o
choosing a
negócio,
few
utilizar métodos
business
que possam se
problems,
resolver rápido. Acho que a
move
grande diferença
quickly,
que, por
moving quickly.
exemplo,
The big
do ano
difference that we
passado
realized
para
from the last year to
o
now
próprio conhecimento
is
dentro
that
das organizações
knowledge
muito mais
within
difundido, assim,
the
você
organization is more
consegue usar
widespread.
IA
You
em
understand
vários
that you
tipos
can
de
use AI
tecnologia
basically to
dentro da
solve
empresa.
any problem within
Então,
the
acho que é
company.
ter
The
foco,
issue is
escolher
having
algum
focus,
caso de cenário onde você vai
choosing a
conseguir atingir
scenario where
resultados
you're
mais
able to
rápidos
generate
do que só
value
simplesmente
deliveries in a
salvar o
short
roteiro da área
time,
de negócio. A gente
but
está
that
conversando
moves
aqui, você
the
vê,
business
com
forward. We
inúmeros
have been
clientes,
3 days here
e surgem ideias
talking to
maravilhosas. E
several
você fala, pô,
customers,
Rafael,
and we
você
have
sempre fala
several great
qual é o
ideas.
indicador de
What I
dor,
say is
qual
what
o
in the
resultado chega no
indicator,
seu,
the business indicator that
no
this
resultado da
is
sua empresa.
moving in the result of
Quantos
your
pontos de
company,
ROI você está
how
trazendo
much
para o resultado?
ROI
Porque no final
points
do dia é
this
isso
is
que vai
bringing
gerar
to your
lucro
result.
para a
Because in
empresa.
the end of the
Isso
day,
de
this
alocar
will
times,
generate
isso
internal
de entregar trabalho
sponsorship for us
rapidamente.
to deliver value quickly.
Acho que o grego lá no
So the
C,
big takeaway here
olhem para os
is
grandes problemas de
look
negócio, aqueles que mais
at
machucam.
the
Vai decompondo isso até
business
chegar num
problems, the
projeto
ones that
que de
hurt
fato
more,
impacte lá em cima numa métrica
and
que lá
choose a project
na
that will
cabeça do
impact
CEO, na cabeça do board
metrics
chairman
that
e
are
principalmente na cabeça do
in the
cliente.
head of the
Porque
customer, the
é ali
CEO,
que a
the
gente gera
board
mais
of
valor.
directors,
Esse
because that's
projeto
where we
está
generate more
extremamente
value.
conectado
This project is
com essa
extremely
visão.
connected
E acho que é
to
por
that
isso que
vision, and
vale a pena
probably
fazer.
this was a project worth doing. It connects with an expectation that is higher and higher from the executive part with these technologies and the value that they must bring to the table. Rafael, Leticia, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Thank you for joining the conversation. If anybody wants more detail, our stands are near each other. It's easy to get there. It's just following this corridor until the end, and we are there at your disposal. Thank you so much. An excellent event to all of you.